Hey Squad, TITOBODS here, and today I have a special video just for members. Hopefully, I can actually give back to you guys, so for supporting the channel. And I'm going to do this first video for heroes that I think I already have made before, but this one is pretty much better than what we have the last time, because this one was ultimately tested in game, in the main servers, in the Pioneer servers, and then retested again in the Pioneer server. So this is the ultimate build, if I'm going to say it right. And you can use this also in the rally, but not much really rally oriented, but this can actually also work in the rally. So come join me in this video today, guys. And for those of you guys who are just new members and just clicking on the membership because of this video, I appreciate you guys and expect more of these kinds of videos coming in the future. So first up, let's talk about the heroes. So this is my ultimate Pyrrhus build. Pyrrhus, Zhuge Liang, and Charlemagne. Yeah, I know. Why is Confucius not here? So that's the main question, right? But for me, Pyrrhus with Zhuge Liang and Charlemagne is a little bit better when it comes to burst. And as I will tell you guys, this build can be a very sustained march also because of Zhuge Liang. As long as you are not being like swarmed or bursted, this march can actually give you a ton of damage in an instant. This march in this Pioneer server did blow out a march of Ramesses with Zhuge Liang and Confucius. Imagine how strong that march is, how tanky that march is, and that is with a Tranquil Water, with a Lofty Mountain, and also with a Skyward Knight in it. So that's how strong that march is. And also, we also did try it with a hero of Ramesses having Azure Moon and Serpent, and this march still trumps that march. Imagine in the field, I think you have already maybe encountered some Ramesses that has that march with Zhuge Liang and Confucius. Imagine how tanky that march is, and we were able to defeat it with just 30 plus seconds with this march. Although some of the fights did manage to stay longer than that, but as I've said, this is a burst damage type of build, and I'm only going to tell you guys how this build will go. You need the Persian Immortal here, number one. Although, as I've said, you will not always have that activations if you have the Persian Immortal. But, hear me out, but you are always sure that there's going to be extra 2% damage from your Persian Immortal because of the Blade Unleashed, which is increase all troops heroes skill damage by 2%. So not only your Pyrrhus will have that damage, but also your Charlemagne. So you have 2 damage dealer here. So your Charlemagne here has 2 damage skill. So let's move on to the builds. These are the skill builds that you want for your heroes. Number 1, you have your Expedition Phalanx. If the fight was longer than expected, this will help you out with the overall damage output. And the Strategy Master Skip will always or should always be there. You must not miss that one. And the Ring of Serpent was the best ring that was available really in our test. We have tested it with the Azure Moon ring. We have tested it with the ring also of Everflame wings, as you can see there. We have also tested it with the Ring of Rose, and of course, for players who have been questioning, the Ring of Crow. Now, the Ring of Crow is also very potent when it comes to debuffing your opponent and giving your Pyrrhus all that debuffs, and of course, on the process, giving you much more damage. But as I've said, since the Ring of Crow is pretty much RNG, mixing it up with another RNG hero is kind of bit hard to do. Yes, when it pops, like it kills that Ramesses march in like merely 30 seconds also. But the problem is the RNG. We are not sure of how many RNGs we have. Like in 34 seconds or in 1 minute. In 1 minute, we only have like 6 activations of the Ring of Crow, which let's say is around 6 turns or 18 seconds. So you have like 12 turns that you don't have that buffs or debuffs. That is around, let's say, 36 seconds or more that you don't have that. So 36, let's just say 36 seconds. You don't have that for 36 seconds. So that's the problem. Now, with the Ring of Serpent, you're always sure to have that high of strategy, plus your might bonus here. So it's going to increase more of the strategy, plus your troop attack and defense. So that's actually it. Now, next up, we have your Zhuge Liang here. So your Zhuge Liang here will have the Skyward Knight because you need that extra activation chances. As I've said, I am going to assume that you can afford the Skyward Knight here. Now, given that you have this build here, you will always need this one, the Borrowing of the East Wind, because this really helps your troops out, especially your Pyrrhus with the extra activation chance, even though it will dissipate or be lessened for after maybe 9 seconds. you will still have 15% of damage bonus plus 5% still of activations. And by then, your Pyrrhus will already have that damage or that stack on his skill. Now, also here, always you have your Peaceful Haven. You are always going to need that for extra damage reduction. Now, the X factor here is actually Charlemagne. So you will always also be reliant on the Sacred Crown. So Sacred Crown is also a good one. But the main draw here is once it's activate, you can see this 47.5 or 0.50% extra plus strategy bonus. So your damage output will have your signature skill for your Pyrrhus. One signature skill will have an assurance of having extra heavy damage at that instant. That's why we also did choose the strategy, the Serpent Ring. So you have that extra more strategy, and thus gives you a lot of damage output. So for your Charlemagne, you also want to have, more strategy for him if you can. And then of course, as I've said, since we're using the Immortal Army, we need like 2 damage skills. So we have Bloodthirst and War Tactics. Now the beautiful thing about this one is that you have healings for both, so that's actually also going to help you out. Although it's like an active skill, you don't really need to add in more active skill damage. What I want you guys to have more is of survivability, so you need more like healing gems in here. Now for the ring, you can see an Everflame Wing. So in Everflame Wing ring actually gives you troop damage. It doesn't just give you or your hero, which is or your commander, which is Pyrrhus, that damage, but rather will also give your Charlemagne damage. So it will also give to the damage of Charlemagne War Tactics and of course the Bloodthirst. And on the process also, your opponents will receive increased damage. So strategy damage increase, as you can see here, plus strategy bonus is going to be really, really good. Plus the burn effect with all the troops damage, plus your Immortal Army, 2% extra, you will really have a lot of damage from this one. Just make sure that all the remaining parts that is not noted in here should be all damage reduction or defense that you can actually give this March. Now for other options, I don't really need or have like other options, but rather right now, if you don't have this, you can go for the Lofty Mountain Ring, or much better, this ring. This Ring of Tempest that is going to be available on the next patch. This is going to be a really also good one for this March. And more about the rings in the future. I'm going to do a video about the 4 new rings. And I think this one is one of the most viable one after your 2 other rings here, your Lofty and your Everflame Wings ring. So those are the rings and the skills that you need for these heroes. Now for the gems of your Pyrrhus, I want you guys to have health gems here. You want more tankiness, you want more survivability, and then here, of course, strategy gem and active gems for your armor, and then combinations plus add in attack. I always have like at least 1 attack gem for my whole March. So for Zhuge Liang, you already know maybe that from his skills, he need a little bit more of troop capacity. So in this March, we have 6. We have 6 troop capacity. So for your helm here, you have 3, and then the helm of your Charlemagne also have 3. And then if you have like a dilemma between getting strategy here and all attributes, and for example you need you're going to choose between Charlemagne and Zhuge Liang, who is going to get the strategy, make sure you give the strategy gems to Zhuge Liang so that he can give off those strategy to Pyrrhus. Now of course here you need your healing with you and combinations plus defense. So I always need or have that defense gem in there. Now for your Charlemagne, as I've said, you need that troop capacity. So I have 6, even in my main March in the regular server. And of course, all attributes here. You need all the attributes you can get. So all attributes can also help against your might heroes because it has armor. So you're going to also need that. Plus, it still has like strategy. So you can have your damage, your strategy bonus, and also strategy defense. And then you have healing. As I've said, you need a lot of extra survivability because as I've said, this March can withstand damage with the help of Chi-Men. But if you have your skills of your Chi-Men out or on cooldown, you will be very vulnerable. So you need all the defense you can get. So that's why I have another extra defense in here, plus combinations of the other gems earlier. So those are the gems that you need for your Pyrrhus March. Now for your mounts on your Pyrrhus, what I want you to get is your Spirit Bond if either you have like Spirit Bond plus an extra Army Sunder, that will be even better. But if you're going to choose Spirit Bond number 1, Army Sunder number 2, and of course you can also choose the Dust Bane. Now the Dust Bane is very situational. You can only use it in solo world battle. So for me, number 1 Spirit Bond, Sunder, and then situational is Dust Bane, and I kind of forgot the other one for the rallies, but these are the things you need. Now for your Zhuge Liang, what you want to have is either your Lifesaver, Renewal, or Healing Armor. So I would rather have you guys to have at least a mix of your Healing Armor plus your Lifesaver. So Healing Armor is the one with the healing effects. So increased healing effects. Plus, you can also have here your Lifesaver, which is your Lifesaver on the other hand will give you that troop damage reduction. So you can see now why I want this on Zhuge Liang. So for your Charlemagne, I want you guys to also have the Lifesaver and Healing Armor. So those are actually also another thing I want you guys to really have. But you can also do Renewal on either Charlemagne or your Zhuge Liang. It doesn't really matter as long as you have Lifesaver. So my primary goal for the mount for Zhuge Liang and Charlemagne is Lifesaver. If you have a Lifesaver plus damage increase in there, that's even better for your Charlemagne. But number 1, don't miss out on the Lifesaver. As I've said, you already have all the damage output that you can get from what we already have. So what you need now is your damage reduction and defense and survivability. Now for your adornments, for your Pyrrhus, I want you to have at least 1 Swift Blade and then 2 Mystic Mirrors. 1 Swift Blade, 2 Mystic Mirrors. So on your Swift Blade, the only one that I want you to get, especially if you want to be flexible, is actually not Starlink, but not Thunder, not Headhunter, but rather Calculation. Calculation is really a good one. The only thing that I would rather get my hands on the Headhunter is that if you are sure that you're going to use this hero properly without being attacked by another hero, you can use your Headhunter. But the number 1 I want to give you guys or to suggest for you guys is Calculation. That's number 1. Headhunter is number 2. And of course, Starlink is also another optional one. So if you're going to just go on PvP battles, then go for Starlink on the field. Because it's a solo PvP battle kind of adornment. You cannot use this in the rally. Also, the weakness of the Starlink is you can only have that damage in one of the heroes. So if you are being swarmed, you can only use this on one of the heroes that you are attacking. Unlike your calculation will be available for all the heroes that are attacking you. So this is better when you are being swarmed. And as I've said, also Thunder is kind of like that, but Thunder really doesn't have that much damage if you're going to count it. So for example, you did activated 4 instance in one turn, then you will only have like 1 instance of the Thunder for that 4 activations. So the other 3 activations on that 4 activations will only have like regular damage. You don't have that extra. So calculation still for me is the best way to go if you're a Pyrrhus. Now for your Mystic Mirror, for your Zhuge Liang, I just want you guys to have your regular old resistance. Resistance for me is pretty important, especially in this March. So rather you can have 2 resistance, or you can have 1 resistance, and then if you are able to get the natural selection, that is also okay. So that's the only one I'm going to actually suggest for you guys. I don't want you guys to get any other, because resistance is a really big help for survivability. May it be in the rally, may it be in the solo battles. I know that in the rally it's going to be reduced, but believe me, you're going to really need this. So those are your builds for your Pyrrhus Ultimate March. Now, I want you guys to also understand the talents. Now, if you guys want to move this to the rally, or you want to use it in the rallies, that is going to be great also. You don't need to change anything, but what you need to change is the talents. So you need to get that rally damage and that rally damage reduction for all 3 heroes. If this is 2% each, you will have like 2% times 3 heroes is 6%. That is a lot of damage, and also damage reduction. 6 of which is going to be pretty important. That's why you need this to help number 1 your rally, and to help number 2 your overall performance in the rally. So I think that's about it for this hero here. So hopefully you guys have understand or really did get a lot of information from this video right here. And as I've said, you need the Persian Immortal here as your mercenary to really give you that burst of damage that you are looking for a Pyrrhus March. And as I've said, there is going to be a time that your Pyrrhus is going to be vulnerable from damage, especially from Lubus. So I don't really recommend you guys to be playing off against Lubus, because we have another March of Pyrrhus that can actually handle that. And if you are interested in that one, I'm going to leave that video here on the screen so that if you really want to watch it also, this march can withstand a Lubu. And as always, squad, have a great day to everyone. This is your TITOBODS, and I will see you in the next one.